want to introduce our guest presenter, who is Judi Ferrara, the Director of Adult and Community Education at the College of Southern Maryland. And Judi is responsible for leading a team of professionals in the adult education and personal enrichment program areas in the School of Continuing Education and Workforce Development within the Division of Learning. So Judi's passion lies in wellness education and sharing her love of practicing self-care with young people and adults to enrich and transform their lives. And she recently completed the practical and advanced training in mind-body medicine through the Center for Mind-Body Medicine in Washington, D.C., which is what she's going to share with us tonight. Mind-body medicine is a healing modality, and it's an evidence-based transformational tool that supports people in their healing journey. All right, so welcome, Judi. It's your turn.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you everyone for joining tonight. I'm really excited to be presenting with this organization. I just recently learned about it, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing that they're going to be transforming and doing in the near future. Like Jessica said, I recently took this training. I should say recently. It was March of 2020, so it seems like, I don't know, forever and a day ago, but a lot has happened since then. And I've been bringing this model to the college community, and to have it out in the community now is even more exciting. So again, thanks for joining. I think prior to starting, Jessica pretty much went through my bio. I think that what we want to do is take a short poll, just to see your answer to where we've been over the last year and a half, how we're feeling currently in this moment. So Jessica, if you want to launch that poll. We'll give everybody a couple minutes to answer. It should be pretty quick. So this isn't surprising that we've chosen sometimes, fairly often, and very often, especially when you think about the last year and a half, right? So this is one of the things that that I have been able to incorporate myself personally, some of these tools and techniques that I've learned at the Center for Mind-Body Medicine, and it's what I want to share with you tonight. So while we won't go through the gamut of all of them, I've chosen two that I hope we have time for the second one, and we'll just go ahead and get started. I have a little bit of background as to some of the science behind the model, some of the reasoning behind the model, and hopefully you'll enjoy seeing some of that. So, again, I did take the training with Allegheny College of Medicine. They had a grant through the Maryland Opioid Operational Command Center. They're forming a community resilience approach in Western Maryland. So they received a grant, and the center decided that they wanted to share this model with community colleges because of the reach that community colleges had out to others, from students, faculty, staff, and members of the community who come to the college campuses. So we have some goals for tonight. I'm going to try to help explain some of the concepts behind the mind-body medicine. Hopefully you'll gain an understanding of stress and relaxation responses. In other words, how your nervous system responds to the tools that you'll be using to help reduce stress. I'm going to explain the concept and importance of self-care, describe and experience the mind-body skills by doing the actual exercises, and then notice those effects, right? We'll share out afterwards and see how, if you want to, see how you felt after you experience some of the things that we're going to do. So what we're thinking about when we took the poll, how stressed we are, what we want to try to think about is, how do we ourselves walk around every day, right? Is our mind full of all these different things that we're thinking of? Work, kids, shopping, any other stresses you have, people in your family you're concerned about, friends, things like that, lots of things going on? Or are we being mindful about everything that we're doing, being present, being in the moment, being engaged with whoever we're in the room with, whoever we're on Zoom with? So I know I'm usually like the person on the left. I would like to be the dog on the right. Love to live a dog's life. You'll see a little dog theme in this PowerPoint presentation as we go on. So The model of self-care is also kind of like a support group. Okay, we have our 1 hour that we're together tonight, and we're learning these tools and techniques together. But the model that the center has is an 8-week mind-body group session. So people come together and they do these techniques together for 2 hours once a week, and they just form an incredible bond. I've been in several groups throughout the last 2 years voluntarily. And I can tell you that I still keep in touch with the people. We have a great connection. There's someone in South Africa. There's someone in Colorado, people from all over the place. And it's just a space that is created that's super safe for everyone to just share what's on their mind. And it's a very non-judgmental space. And it's the space, I think, that we all want to create for each other. We all want to create it for each other, not just being in these small 8-week mind-body groups, but taking that away out into the community to other people. So again, the center has evidence-based practices, and they're simple skills that anyone can do.
Having returned from war,
Yeah, you can't see it.
There was a death. There was a spiritual death. I came home, but there was a spiritual death. I've been walking with a hole in myself. I work with veterans with traumatic brain injury where there is no cure. I wanted to learn the techniques that might facilitate healing for my comrades. I didn't expect personal healing. What worked for me was the guided imagery. Getting the answer that I needed was it. I've been dying a long time. Well, this is the first time that I've really felt alive again.
I think what makes the program unique is a combination of an atmosphere that is generous and loving, together with teaching people very practical, very simple techniques to change the way they look at the world, change the way they feel about themselves, and give them the very practical, easy-to-use tools to help other people.
What I love about this model is that no one tells you what you're supposed to feel at the end. No one tells you what you're supposed to do at the end. This model is one of the unique ways that allows everyone collectively to tap into their own innate wisdom. And their answers come every time. So people show up curious and open, it will come. And if you show up closed off, it will come. It's gonna come.
As an occupational therapist, I work to help people live life to the fullest. This really is the embodiment of that phrase.
I came here, expecting to learn mind-body techniques. And it was clear from the very first day that it was so much more than that. It's taking your own, what's inside of you, and just laying it out on the table. And really what made it work were the small groups. These people were strangers last week. And they're really loving, and they made this possible. In 2 days, I'm going to be taking this and doing a training in a local prison. In fact, these people in my small group, in my heart, I'm taking them all with me. They're going to be there, and I think it's going to make it a different experience.
There's the experiential part of the small group, which is wonderful, but then there's also this backbone, this anchor of evidence-based interventions. And for me, when I talk about going back to my office with docs who don't do this every day of the week, that's the part that makes it easier for me to integrate it in the world that I live in, is because it's founded on that same backbone of data and trials, which unfortunately is just the way that Western medicine works. But it makes it easier to be able to go back to my colleagues and say, this is legit stuff. Look, there's evidence for this.
It's a combination of education and experience. The participants do have fun, and they can be challenged. And the model has evolved to really been shown and proven with the research that's been done on the work to be an amazing model for trauma. And it's been really interesting and rewarding to see how bringing it to various communities, those cultures, those countries, can actually take the work and meld it into something that works for them.
We're all so different, but really we're all so similar. And that in of itself is a way to build resilience. When you connect your suffering to someone else's suffering, whom on the street or if you met in passing, you might think you have nothing in common with. when you really can get to that, and when I see that happening in my groups, that's when the magic happens.
The model that we have is a model that feeds people's souls as well as their sense of who they are as a professional. All these people are saying, I want to bring this in there. I want to bring this model, I want to bring this work, I want to bring this spirit, and I want to build the same kind of community in my hometown, in my institution, as I'm experiencing here in this training.
There was an awakening here that took place. I feel whole now with a W-H-O-L-E.
Okay, so hopefully you got the gist of that. I just wanted to share with you what the center is basically doing throughout the world with this training. The person's voice that you heard in there is Dr. James Gordon. He is the founder of the Center for Mind Body Medicine. And he just has this deep, deep desire to transform lives. He's written several books on this particular model, places he's been in the world. And I think that if we can take whatever we can from this and use it for ourselves, it's only going to make ourselves better people so that we can go out into the world and be better people for others. So mind-body medicine includes things like yoga, meditation, mindfulness, biofeedback. There's a piece that we do with stress dots. Listen to a guided meditation, watch the dot turn a different color from the time that you walked in the room to the time that you finished. There's imagery. Hypnosis is part of mind-body medicine, drawing and writing, journaling, movement, exercise, nutrition and eating, mindful eating. I brought one of those workshops to the college, and people really enjoyed the mindful eating piece. Obviously, posture, body language, anything that you can think of that has to do with using your mind to literally control your body. That's what mind-body medicine consists of. So some of the skills that we'll practice today will be the meditation and mindfulness, and also the imagery, hopefully, if we have time. So who can benefit from mind-body medicine? Pretty much anybody, right? Obviously, I've brought it to the college community, employees and organizations, people that are doing the work of social work, people that work in detention centers, those who care for others, healthcare workers. They need it the most, probably, because they're caring individuals, and sometimes they don't take a moment to care for themselves. Those doing community outreach, people with chronic diseases and illnesses, trauma, mental health, anybody. So personally, for me, when I experienced COVID last December, I turned to every tool that I had in the box. It was an awful experience for me. Luckily I wasn't hospitalized or anything, but I went through some unbelievable symptoms that were really bizarre. And if I didn't have some of these tools and techniques to use to just kind of deal with what I was going through, I don't know that I would have been able to handle it the way that I did. So anybody can practice these. So what we're going to do now is we're going to experience one of them. And what I'd like you to do is get super, super comfortable where you're sitting right now. If you have a blanket, or if you have a pillow, if you're seated in a chair, just go ahead and get really comfortable with your back up against that chair, your back up against a sofa, feet flat on the floor. And what I want you to do is just start to bring an awareness to your breath. Notice how you're breathing in this moment. You can take this opportunity to lower your gaze, or better yet, close your eyes. And as you do this, start to deepen your breath. Start to take a little bit more of an inhale, filling your lungs full of air, and exhaling fully. Perhaps you're not feeling very comfortable in this position, but just open yourself up to the possibility of what your breath can do for you in this moment. As you inhale deeply through the nose, into the lungs, filling the belly full of air, and then exhaling fully out through the mouth. As you inhale, try to trace the air that goes in through the nose, down through the back of your throat, into the lungs, filling to the very bottom, and then trace it back out as you exhale fully. Continue to breathe deeply. Perhaps you feel the air going in as being warm down the back of the throat. And as you exhale, feel it exit through the mouth. Soften your eyebrows. Let your eyes feel heavy in the sockets. Perhaps you turn the corners of your mouth up with a soft smile. As you continue to breathe, relax your shoulders. Let your arms feel heavy and your hands relax in your lap or down by your side. Feel the connection your body has with the chair that you're sitting on. Relax your legs. Feel your feet connected to the earth. Feeling grounded. If thoughts come, let them come, and then let them go, and return to the focus of the breath. Breathing deeply, feeling relaxed. As you breathe like this, you're stimulating a large nerve in the center of the body called the vagus nerve. That's VAGUS. That nerve is responsible for the body relaxing. Just knowing that we can use our breath to stimulate this large nerve to bring us calm, peace, and focus. Perhaps you say to yourself on the inhale, soft, and on the exhale, belly. Inhale, soft, And exhale, belly. We'll continue to breathe this way on our own, focusing solely on the breath. Gently wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, perhaps shrug your shoulders up around your ears and bring them back behind you and then down. And slowly lift your gaze and return to the room. Hopefully, during that short, concentrated meditation, you all were able to find a little bit of relaxation. I'm going to go ahead and share again my screen. And what we experienced was soft belly breathing. Can you all see the little bunny lying down there? I didn't want to show you that first because you might have wanted to lie down on me. Maybe some of you did, I'm not sure. But so just out of curiosity, if we want to popcorn around, what did you all experience? What kinds of things did you physically feel was happening when you were breathing that way? Did you want to share with us, Kathy?
Yeah, pretty much an empty brain.
Uh-huh.
Which is a good thing.
It's absolutely a good thing. Yes.
It doesn't happen very often. Not that it's full of wisdom, but just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so you were able to turn it off.
Pretty much.
Very good. That's the goal. Anyone else?
Well, it reminded me that it's kind of what happens when we go to sleep. We breathe in and out and we don't know we're doing it once we fall asleep. So
Exactly. But so think about being able to do this whenever you feel a stressful situation coming on, or if you're in a stressful situation, being able to step away from that and use your breath to calm yourself down like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Judy, this is Sybil, and I definitely experienced the peacefulness, and so I can't say I wish I had empty brain. I wish that everything sort of went away. But the thing that I thought about was the sort of the thing that I was thinking about as I came into it, but with clarity about what I need to do. So there was it was just it was peaceful, right? I felt the relaxation, I felt the peacefulness, and the ability to think about, and the thing I'm thinking about is wintering my mandevilla plants. I'm very concerned about how I'm going to keep them alive. But beginning to just really just approach it in a much clearer and calmer way, and not stress like, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill them kind of thing, but just really thinking about how do I care for them. So it was, yeah, definitely peaceful for me.
Thank you, Sybil. Anyone else?
Sure. I noticed I was yawning quite a bit, and I experienced that as a release of tension.
Okay. I think that's what we're after. Releasing stress, releasing tension, and like Sybil said, the ability to focus, better. That's one of the true reasons why I feel compelled to bring this to our students at the college. Imagine them being able to experience that maybe 5 minutes before they take an exam. It might make the difference of a full-on grade. So yeah. Okay. All right. So stress and the autonomic nervous system. Obviously, our internal organs, our blood vessels, our stomach, our intestines, all these vital organs are part of that. And they're affected by the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. Both of these systems are responsible for the fight or flight syndrome, which I'm sure you've all heard about, the response that we have to stress. And they work in harmony with each other like they're supposed to. But we all know that too much of one, not enough of another, causes an imbalance. And we need to mentally and physically know that we can control these systems. And we just did with our breath. Okay. So the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system is more of the gas pedal, right? It's the more of what gets our heart rate up, what increases our blood flow, what makes us want to basically fight, right? So we get sweaty palms like I was getting when I was trying to operate my PowerPoint presentation earlier. Now I don't really care, especially after the breathing. But you know, our hands get cold, our feet get cold. Maybe our stomach starts to rumble, and we have some, obviously over the long term, maybe gut issues. The parasympathetic is the opposite of that, right? It's our brake pedal. It's when our breathing slows down, our blood pressure decreases. There are chemicals in the brain that are involved, adrenaline and cortisol in the sympathetic, and then oxytocin in the parasympathetic. So these two, when they work in harmony, cause us to maintain that balance and that state of homeostasis, right? That's crucial to our life. And when we go to the next slide, we see, this is Bella. She's my dog. She is a yellow lab who looks as though she wouldn't hurt a fly. But I can tell you that sometimes when we go for walks, she sees other dogs as a threat. And she goes into definitely a fight mode. Some people say it's because she's on a leash. I don't know. She's fine in a dog park, but some people say because she's on a leash, she gets protective of me, or maybe feels like she can't protect herself. But, she barks incessantly. I don't think she would ever bite anybody, but she barks incessantly. So those who are in a fight response, maybe they're angry. Maybe they feel as though sometimes, they get into an uncomfortable situation. They can either be yelling and be very verbal about it, or they might just close down and be very non-verbal, but holding on to anger. Maybe they have a threatening behavior, but for some reason they feel like they need to go into survival mode. And I think that's basically what happens with my dog. Those in a flight or a flee response, they're gonna withdraw. They're gonna want to hide. They're gonna wanna avoid people. Maybe some folks suffer from, social anxieties, to where they don't want to go out and be with people. They don't want to go to the grocery store. They don't want to go to class. They don't want to go to work. So these are things that over time can really, really, really disrupt our lives and disrupt people's lives. When Bella wants to retreat, her safe place is the bathtub. She likes to go lay in the bathtub, and that is where she freezes. That's where she retreats to. We all need a place that we're able to retreat to, and using something like we just experienced, our breathing and our breath, to go inside and internally calm ourselves down, is going to allow us to handle situations, tough situations, stressful situations that come our way. We all know that when we stay in that fight or flight arena, when we stay in that stressful state all the time, the chronic illnesses will start. The chronic illnesses will start to come. Gut issues, high blood pressure, diabetes, you name it. I think most of us know what they are. Oh, there they are. Chronic pain, infections. So this is an interesting statistic, and I know it's changed since I made this PowerPoint presentation last year, but 75 to 90% of all doctor visits are stress related. That's what people come into the office with, stress related ailments. And we can change that. We can change that by using some of these tools and techniques to just kind of have an awareness, be able to self-regulate and move on with our lives, and eventually share this with others. So Dr. James Gordon basically says trauma will eventually come to us all sooner or later, and each of us has the capacity to understand and heal ourselves. I'm sure that most of you would agree with me that this last year and a half has been traumatic. For some more than others. Those of us who have experienced actual illness, some of us have lost loved ones. We've had to pivot to a remote work environment. We're doing things like wearing masks out, when we go out, and those are not normal things that we're used to. And some people might feel as though that, they don't want to do it, or it is traumatic. That's all I can say about that. So healing for trauma, the mind-body skills and self-care promote healing and resilience by giving us the tools to maintain our balance. It helps us optimize our neurotransmitters. There's some of those chemicals I was talking about too: serotonin, beta endorphins, melatonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine. Those are all responsible for things that happen within our systems. Meditation, the one that we just did, was concentrative. They name that soft belly breathing. There can also be expressive meditation or active meditation. I don't know if anyone's ever done a walking meditation through a labyrinth or just walking through a park. The model that Center for Mind Body Medicine has is called shaking and dancing. While we won't experience that tonight, for those of you that might have had trouble sitting still with the breathing, the shaking and dancing might be exactly what you need and what you want to wind up doing, because it took me a little bit to get used to it, but it was definitely something that I now practice. You don't have to be any kind of professional dancer to do it either. No one's watching anyway. And then there's mindfulness, right? Then there's mindful awareness. So observing and being curious, and maybe going through guided imagery. There's something called Wise Guide that we do. So it's similar to what we just experienced with the soft belly breathing, but it takes you on a journey through meeting someone, your wise guide, whoever that is to you, and taking you on this journey and asking your guide questions. Maybe you're struggling with a decision that you have to make in your life. Utilizing this technique can really bring about an awareness and help you focus and ultimately make decisions. And meditation is considered the heart of medicine and self-care. So it starts with the focus. It starts with closing the eyes and focusing on the breath, and then taking that wherever you want to take it, whether you want to focus on, some people focus on prayer. Some people make meditation very spiritual. It doesn't have to be that way. The Center for Mind Body Medicine makes it a point to say that this is not religious based. It's not any kind of religion. It's also not therapy, right? While these tools and techniques could be very, very therapeutic, it's not therapy. So we're going to experience some guided imagery. It's the language of the unconscious, right? It's the dominant language that communicates to the conscious mind and the body. Words and thoughts represent your senses, your sense of hearing, your sense of touch, smell, and sight and taste. So we're going to get comfortable again in our chairs. I'm going to stop sharing my screen again. And same situation, you're back up against a sofa or a chair, your feet flat on the floor. You can go off camera if you like. We're going to begin to focus on our breathing. Again, soften the gaze. Or close your eyes. And begin to bring about an awareness through your breath. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. And again, just relaxing the entire body. Bringing about an awareness to the breath. Letting things go from the mind. And I'd like for you to imagine that you're now standing in your kitchen. Or the kitchen of someone that you know. Take a few moments to imagine the kitchen, the color of the countertops, the appliances, the cabinets. Notice if there's any windows. And also notice any kitchen smells or sounds. The running of a dishwasher or the hum of a refrigerator. Maybe there's a clock on the wall making a sound. Take some time to notice everything. Use your senses, what you see, what you hear, what you smell, and how you feel being there in this kitchen. In front of you on the counter is a cutting board. Next to that cutting board is a kitchen knife. Now imagine that on the cutting board sits a plump, fresh, juicy lemon. In your mind, hold the lemon in your hand. Feel its weight and its texture. Then place it back on the board and carefully cut in half with the knife. Feel the resistance to the knife and how it gives way as the lemon splits. Notice the pale yellow pulp, the whiteness of the inner peel. See whether you've cut through a seed or two. Carefully cut one of the halves into two. Notice where a drop or two of juice has purled on the surface of one of the quarters. Now imagine lifting this lemon wedge to your mouth, smelling the sharp, fresh scent. And now bite into the sour, juicy pulp. And again, you can wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, lift your gaze and come back into the room. And so again, just kind of popcorning around, what did you guys experience there with your guided imagery? Were you able to go to the kitchen? Able to go to the kitchen, able to see the kitchen?
I went to my mother's kitchen and I already had a loaf of her hot bread instead of a lemon. So I didn't like changing to the lemon, and I especially didn't like tasting the lemon.
Thank you. That's interesting. That's interesting. Some people, it's not their own kitchen. They will go to someone else's kitchen. And not everyone will eat the lemon.
I didn't eat the lemon, but I would eat Sandra's mother's bread.
That sounds good, Bob. Anyone else?
I was glad I stayed in my kitchen because I know it better than anybody else, so I was able to really picture it, you know, in my mind. I didn't have any bread or cookies or cake or anything in the kitchen until you brought us the lemon. So, and I did smell it and taste it. It was interesting, a very concentrated experience, you know. That was good.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else? Thank you, guys. So again, this is just another technique that you can use to have your mind go somewhere else, right? And the things that you're experiencing in your body, you've created that in your mind. You've created, did anybody get the little twingy around their cheeks when I said to taste the lemon, even though you weren't tasting it? That happens to me all the time. Even when I'm reading the script, I start salivating. And it's just, so just imagining, just using that imagery causes the body to react. So yeah. So that's what we're trying, that's what we're trying to get out of that. So there's a lot of benefits to guided imagery. It reduces your stress and anxiety. It increases your relaxation. It just, again, gives us the capacity to also draw on our emotional resources. Some people can go into a kitchen and for them, it might be traumatic. They don't want to be there, right? So you can control where you want to go. You can place yourself in a garden. You can place yourself really wherever you want to be and just disappear for a little while. Whether you're being guided by someone else or listening to music, it's really just a matter of taking the time out, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you want to do it. Folks that meditate for an hour, I don't know how they do it. I'm not quite there yet. Not quite there yet at all. So thank you guys for experiencing some of this with me. If you're interested in an 8-week mind-body small group that's going to meet virtually or locally, let me know. I know Calvert Peace Through Action might be doing more with me. We could do another one of these with other techniques. Again, I really appreciate the feedback. And I think we're going to take one more poll before you disappear, because we want to know one more time, in this moment, how are you feeling? But yeah, so big difference from where we started, right? We were 3s and 4s when we started. Now we're 1s and 2s. So there's proof in the pudding. And
Time for a question or two if anyone
absolutely
has one. We have a few minutes remaining, so
yes.
I'd like to give people an opportunity if they have a question.
Mhm.
I
Relax
wondered
now.
about walking. Like, what kind of meditation would you do in walking?
In walking. So
Yes.
a walking meditation, again, is while it's active, it's also concentrative. I joined a study through the University of South Carolina. They were doing a study of post-COVID patients, and we did an 8-week walking meditation study where I walked for 30 minutes, and your foot strike is 1 foot strike per second. So it is extremely slow. You're concentrating on your walking. And then a week later, we brought the breathing into it as well. And again, you choose a spot where obviously there's not a lot going on around you, a park. Some people did it on a track at a local school. And obviously don't close your eyes, but you lower your gaze. And it was difficult at first because I was worried about who was watching me because I was walking so slow. But once I was able to kind of get all the surrounding things out of my mind, it was a great experience. So it's basically just very slow walking. Didn't have any music. And I noticed around me birds, cars, wind, leaves crunching under my feet, things that when I walk, I wouldn't normally notice.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's so contrary to what I usually do, which is to walk as fast as I possibly can and get back home as soon as I can.
Which obviously fast walking is good for you too, because it's exercise. Yep.
I have a question about some of like the, well, I'm more a comment that it was helpful to hear some of the science and like how the Western and other traditions are kind of coming together. Because I think some folks will think some of these practices are woo-woo or new age or whatever the right, the 21st century word is for non-traditional, or what most of us in the West know as medicine. And so it was nice to hear and see some examples in your slides where those of us who kind of latch onto that knowledge of medicine or medical care can find a place to use these. It doesn't feel like we're taking the hugest leap away from the kind of medical care we've received.
Yeah. Yeah. And Bob, I will share, you'll actually see that in the video that you all listen to. It's interesting to actually view that video. It's on the Center for Mind Body Medicine's website, but I'll share that link with you and you can put it out there as well. You can see people experiencing the shaking and dancing. The one woman who said when she goes back to her office with the docs, she was actually an integrative medicine doctor. So, to be able to share these tools and techniques with the doctors who are in what, our Western medicine, made a big difference for her to be able to share that with them.
Speaking for the project, I was interested in what you were indicating about some virtual opportunities being created in Calvert for people to access these kind of supports regularly. So that's something, as that develops, I think the project would want to amplify that in some way.
I can keep you informed of when the next 8-week session is coming up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I can tell it's this is just a little, we all knew this was just a little teaser. This wasn't like, oh, we're going to show you all 8 types of experience. I mean, Judy went through whatever, a 60-hour program to learn this. So we're not trying to accomplish that tonight. It's mostly just to give you a little teaser that there are some very accessible methods that each of us as peace builders can do that prepare us to be effective builders with others, because we approach them with a calm spirit because we've calmed ourselves first. That slide you showed about anger, I just really wanted to, yeah, that's kind of the root of a lot of the aggression and violence that is present these days. And so, wow, imagine if we had a bunch of breathing, meditating politicians or clergy or whoever's angry, people for the vaccine, people against it. If we just had more like, okay, let's take a breath and take it regularly, it would change the dynamic of how we interact with others. So
Absolutely.
grateful to you to give us a indication of how we can use this in our lives.
You're very welcome, Bob. Thank you for having me.
I thought this was terrific. I love it as our first event. And thank you so much, Judy. This was fascinating. And Bob and Jessica, you did a great job. Thanks.
Yeah.
I see Susan has her hand up.
I was just going to make a comment earlier. Today was an in-service day. We had the kids left 2 hours early, and the teachers in Calvert County had in-service. And it was very similar. A lot of information in your PowerPoint was presented to every teacher in Calvert County today.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
It was about stress in students and how the brainstem remembers things that are traumatic from early childhood. And it's hard to get past that. And some of the chemicals in the brain, the cortisol and the other things were mentioned today too, as well as, ways to get around that. So it was just like the second time I heard it today.
But did you get to relax?
No, they had little breaks where we had to get up and move, like do movement stuff. So no, that part was opposite.
That's okay. As long as you got some movement in there, that's okay too. The center actually has a K through 12 track too. The training that I took was for adults, but there's a K through 12 track, and they had a group of high schoolers at the training that really, over the 3 days, you just saw them kind of transform and just form this wonderful bond amongst themselves. And they really opened up about some of the things that they were sharing with each other that normally, it might have been somebody they wouldn't have even talked to, or some things that they thought about that person that now that they experience this together just wasn't true, right? So the no judgment thing and the opening up has a lot to do with that. And to see that take place with younger kids was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
I think Congress needs to do that.
I think Dr. James Gordon has taken it to the Senate.
Has he?
Yes. Yes.
Great. I think some school systems are integrating these practices into the school day to kind of start. Sometimes it's to start all the students with a calm mind before the academic work begins. Sometimes they have it as a kind of a breakout activity to handle like a case that's going to turn into a suspension. It's like, okay, instead of like suspending the child and going through all that rigmarole, which is so harmful, how about let's create a quiet room or quiet space to kind of de-escalate. So it's just buttressing what Susan was commenting on for the faculty in the school system. I don't know if Calvert's doing that with the student body of the K through 12 students, but other places are kind of picking up the message that these are practices that lay people, once you learn a little bit, you can kind of, right, you didn't have to be a PhD to do this. You might have had to be a PhD to come up with why it makes sense to do and explain the science behind it. But, if we do this a couple times with some modeling, we can kind of do this with each other.
Well, and again, Bob, that is the premise too of the Center for Mind Body Medicine. They want to train the trainers, right? So they want to bring this to the community, and they want those members to bring it to others. And one of the things that was holding me back from doing these workshops and even the 8-week Mind Body sessions was that I don't have a PhD, right? So I was like, I'm not a doctor and I'm not an expert in this. And I do a little bit of yoga here and there, but what makes me think? And what makes me think is that I took the training and I studied under this guy, and he's a genius. So why not try to carry this on to others, right? And I've seen firsthand, just by the feedback I've gotten from you all, and in the 8-week mind body group that I had, and the other workshops I've done at the college, some people it's made a world of a difference, and they're still practicing. Yeah.
This is very special for our first public event of the Calvert Peace Project, to really ground us, as Jessica put this in the context of the ultimate peace that we want in our community, our nation, and our world, and it starts with ourselves. So this is a really important way to start the project, to really give us a reminder that we need to take care of ourselves in order to take care of others. And I assure all of you who are on the call today that this now becomes part of the permanent record of the project, and a permanent record of Peace Through Action. So we'll have this available online, and we'll be distributing it various times when it's like, oh, I think we need a little inner peace refresher. This kind of training has got legs on it. So just know that you were our in-house first participants, but we plan on making it go further.
Thank you so much, Judy, for sharing this peaceful practice with us. And thank you to all the participants for sharing what was going on with you. Thank you again. And yeah, I'll see you at the next events.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.